Hey guys, it's Bear at Bear Loves Film, and this is a quick spoiler review for Deadpool 2, so there will be spoilers in this review. Deadpool 1 was a riot. I mean, it totally came out of left field. None of us really expected it to be anything like it was. It was hilarious. I remember watching it in the States when it first came out. I was over there on holiday at the time, and my belly hurt from laughing. I thought it was so clever, so fresh, so original. So the trouble, of course, is with Deadpool 2, people are they now know what Deadpool's like. They now know about breaking the fourth wall and the violence and the swearing and lots of the in-jokes, etc. So the trouble is they have to ramp it up more to move it to the next level. The opening credits of the film, very clever, lovely James Bond theme. I really liked it. On a negative side, Vanessa. They killed Vanessa. Now, I think Vanessa was one of the best characters in the first film. She wasn't your standard sort of girl next door. You know, she was a prostitute who fell in love with him, and even she accepted what he looked like afterwards. Okay, takes a couple of drinks before she could sit on his face, but the fact is, she loved him as he was and for what he was. And I think she brought a huge heart. I mean, I love the actress anyway, but she brought a huge heart to the film. Now, one of the criticisms with Deadpool was it was the standard trope of bad guys want you to do something, or want you to stop you doing something, or want to kill you, can't get you, so therefore they steal the girl, you know, whether it be your daughter, whether it be your wife, or even your mother, if it's Martha. And then they go and take them away, and then you get the climactic, I'm going to go and save my, girlfriend, mother, daughter, Martha, whatever. So this film had the chance to mix it up a little bit, but again, what it did is it basically said, right, okay, you're a revenge film now. And I can see why they go with it, and it can work. I mean, John Wick is one of my favourite films. I love that. And he goes on a killing spree, mostly because they killed his dog. Fair enough, totally agree with that. So it can work. What you've got to think about is that in this sort of time we live in now, when there is a very big push for diversity, where there's a very big push for strong independent women to not need to be saved, for Deadpool to go back into the trope of, oh, let's have a baby, let's start a family, oh no, you've just been shot. I think it's an overused trope. It's a shame with Deadpool being so novel in many of its themes that it uses that sad trope. But speaking of strong independent women, we have Domino. Now, I haven't read the Deadpool comics, or the graphic novels or whatever, but I did know that obviously they race changed Domino. Now, I'm not particularly keen on the idea of doing these things because to me it feels forced. It feels like, let's get this character we know, but let's change it for change's sake, which I'm not really that comfortable with. But Jazzy Beetz was really, really good. She brought a real sassiness to it. I think the sequences that showed how luck worked for her as a superpower, I think were very well realised. I think she played the part really well. I definitely want to see a lot more of her in future films, whether it be X-Men, whether it be X-Force, whether it be Deadpool 3, etc. I think she was a really good addition to the film, and I think her character worked well, and particularly I think Jazzy Beetz did a great job in the role. Mentioning the X-Force, one of the downers I had was the fact that it failed to set up the X-Force. It promised the X-Force in the trailers, and we have the X-Force built, or the start of it built, and then killed, through mincing machines or whatever. And I think that's a shame. I can see where they were going with it. It was a comedy saying, look, it's the X-Force, oh shit, they're dead. So yeah, that's kind of funny, but I think maybe if they'd done it one or two characters rather than whole X-Force. And talking about not seeing characters, Negasonic Teenage Warhead, I thought we'd see a lot more of her in this film. And Yukio as well as the new character. The fact that they're the first lesbian couple on a comic book film, so a superhero type film on the big screen, that's great. It was done in a nice way. I love the fact that when Yukio was introduced as being her girlfriend, then Negasonic immediately has some attitude about as if Deadpool was going to have an issue with it. And I love the line where Deadpool basically goes, "Whoa, pump the gas, Fox News." In other words, don't assume that I'm going to have a problem with it, because I really don't. And I think that was a nice way of bringing that into the film, that didn't throw it into your face, made it light, made it a laugh, and made you instantly accept them as the couple that they are, without any worries about it at all, without any forced diversity or feeling like you were being messaged or being preached to. It was just a thing, but we didn't see enough of them, anywhere near enough of them. I would have loved to have seen much more of them. I think they were terribly underused. Now, whether they're a lot of scenes that have been cut and maybe we might see some extras added back in the special edition, I don't know, but we definitely didn't see as much as we needed to from them, and that was a shame, I think. One of the obviously standout moments of the film is when Juggernaut has torn Deadpool in half and he's regrowing his bottom half. It's one of those scenes in the film that once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. And the ongoing dialogue by Weasel as well about what he's seeing, and when he stands up and you see this little baby butt shimmering across the room to shake hands with Cable, that was a riot. That was hilarious. That was so funny. Rude, right on the edge, but just as you want Deadpool to be. So that was great. That was one of the main comedy beats that I think really hit. Certainly with the cinema that I was in, it had everybody in hysterics. Now with Cable, I do think it's really unfortunate. Now, for unfortunate, you could say it was foreseeable and they shouldn't have allowed it to happen. But to have Thanos and Cable both being Joyce Brolin coming out at this virtually the same sort of time, I really think they should have different actors, because I swear that when I was watching Cable, if I'd shut my eyes and listened, I would have heard Thanos ribbing on Deadpool. I also think that they watered down his backstory far too much. Now Cable has a very, very complicated, complex backstory, as you'd expect somebody who has time travel as a main theme going through a lot of their story arcs, but they watered him down to basically the Terminator. He's basically going back in time to kill someone to stop an event. Cable is supposed to be a pretty big dude, from what I gather from seeing some of the comic covers, which Joss isn't. So he lacked the physicality, I think, that the role probably needed. Now, talking about physical presence, we had Juggernaut. I love the fact that was not given away in the trailers. That was really good. It was very good where they basically said, if you want to survive in prison, get in the good books of the biggest, scariest dude in the place. And I love the fact we didn't find out who it was until much, much later. And his appearance and his fight and everything was good. I thought the fight with him and Colossus was great. His ending was the bit I laughed out loudest. Perhaps it's just because I've got a crude sense of humour, but the idea of sticking an electricity line up somebody's backside, I thought it was hilarious. I think it's interesting as well that it's Ryan Reynolds himself that actually voiced and did the motion capture for Juggernaut, but I would say it's probably unlikely that it was actually also his hairy arse. One of the things I really noticed with Deadpool 2 is I just did not think that the action scenes were filmed as well as the first film. I don't think they were framed as well. I think that the fight scenes, it was just too jump cut, and I just don't think it carried the style of the first film. I think the first film was very stylish in the way it conducted its fights, and I thought Deadpool 2 was lacking in that, noticeably so. I really, really couldn't connect to Russell, the young lad. I can see what they're going for. The idea of a young kid that's been abused in this children's institution and has gone off the rails. I can understand that, and he's got his anger, and that manifests into the fire fists. And of course, the idea is that he basically takes out his rage, but gets a taste for it, and I can kind of understand that, but I don't know, it just didn't work for me. I don't know whether it was just the way he was played, whether it's how he was scripted, the fact that whether I just couldn't get used to the character because of the very, very strong accent. I just couldn't connect with him. He wasn't like, for instance, going out many, many years to the Stephen King film Firestarter, where the little girl there was unable to control her powers, and started to hurt people without realising it, without wanting to, and then that manifested itself into something more dark and more sinister as her powers grew, and she was able to channel those powers more. Whereas with Russell, he just seemed just too obnoxious and not somebody I thought was necessarily savable, or somebody that I rooted for to be saved. The post or mid-credit scene rather was brilliant. It was definitely worth watching. Now Ryan Reynolds has often jibed at himself for Green Lantern and X-Men Origins, Wolverine, etc. And the fact of him going back and basically taking those, or trying to take those parts out of his history, I thought was very clever. Very, very funny. The audience was roaring with laughter at this, and it's really good. What I did feel was a little bit of a shame though was there was no post-credit scene. I know we've kind of all got used to it and maybe we shouldn't do, but Deadpool 1 had a post-credit scene, so I and everybody else in the cinema laughed our asses off at the mid-credit scene, then watched the credits, and then there was no end-credit scene. Nothing to give us an idea of what's happening next. And I could tell the vibe from people in the cinema, because I felt it too. I kind of felt cheated. I kind of felt like they haven't finished the movie. I know that's a really strange thing to say, but they haven't given me a teaser for what's next. Now, obviously, with Fox possibly being taken over by Disney or possibly by Comcast, we don't know what's in the future, but I think they could have certainly given us something, just some little teaser. Now, one of my biggest issues with this film is the time travel, and that is the time travel right at the end, in the mid-credit scenes, to go back and fix everything. Now, it doesn't fix everything. Obviously, Peter is survived, but the rest of the X-Force, he doesn't seem to go back and save. He goes back and presumably saves Vanessa. Now, that's lovely. It ties the whole film up into a bow, but I hate things like that. I hate having 2 hours of a film and then at the end going, oh, yeah, we can just fix this. It just doesn't work for me. And for me, it really spoiled the film. So, in closing, guys, Deadpool 2, I did enjoy it. Definitely worth repeat viewing. Definitely worth seeing if you enjoyed the first one. Deadpool 2 gets a B+, and I would definitely advise you to give it a try if you like the first film, and let me know in the comments below what you think of it. So, until next time, I'll see you later.